What if Deku had Salem's powers? Chapter 5. A grim situation. Izuku had just arrived at UA to see a bunch of reporters at the front gate of UA, asking about All Might. They made it very difficult for students to get into UA, and many of them were pestered by the reporters. Izuku managed to make it through the reporters. What a nuisance. Can't they see what they are doing? Salem asked. They are excited to see All Might, of course they wouldn't think about what they are doing, Izuku said with a hint of anger. Soon enough Aizawa came out. Can you tell me about All Might? Wow, you're scruffy. What's your deal? A reporter asked. He's not on duty today. You are disturbing the classes, please leave, Aizawa said. I would like to speak directly with All Might, a reporter said. I feel like I've seen him before, a cameraman said. Don't you think you're too scruffy? A reporter asked. I can't believe All Might was able to work as a hero with all this, Aizawa thought. Hey. Let me see All Might just for a little, a reporter said. Aizawa then walked away. Just a little time is fine. Just let me see All Might, a reporter said, trying to follow after him. The UA barrier then activated, sealing off the gate. What the reporter said. It's the UA barrier. If someone tries to get in without a student ID or a pass to enter, the security system kicks in. Apparently, there are sensors all over the school, a cameraman said. They think they are so high and mighty. They could at least give a brief comment, the reporter said. Across the street in was a skinny man with blue hair. Good work on yesterday's combat training. I saw the video and results. Bakuga. You're talented, so don't act like a kid, Aizawa said. I know, Bakugo said. Now let's get down to homeroom business. Sorry about the late notice, but today, I'll have you, Aizawa said. Class 1 began to worry about what Aizawa had in store for them. Decide on a class representative, Aizawa said. It's actually a normal school activity, the students said. I want to be class rep. Pick me, Kirishima said. Me too, Kaminari said. The students then devolved into why they should be class rep. Silence, please. It is a job with the serious responsibility of leading others. It is not a job for just anyone who wants to do it. It is a calling that requires the trust of those around you. If we want to use democracy to decide on a true leader, then we should hold an election to choose one, Tenya said. Why did you suggest that? We haven't known each other for that long, so how can we have trust or anything? Zero asked. If that's the case, and everyone votes for themselves, Azue said. Don't you think that is precisely why whoever receives multiple votes here can be truly considered the most suitable person? What do you think, Mr. Aizawa? Tenya asked. I don't care, as long as you decide before homeroom is over, Aizawa said. Thank you very much, Tenya said. After all the votes were cast, Izuku became class representative with 3 votes, and Momo became vice representative with 2 votes. I got 3 votes, Izuku asked. Congratulations, Salem said. Why Deku? Who voted for him? Bakugo asked. Well, it's better than voting for you, Kaminari said. What did you say? Bakugo yelled. Then, the class rep is Midoriya, and the deputy class rep will be Yaoyorozu, Aizawa said. Classes then began and soon lunchtime arrived. Izuku, Yurika and Tenya were all sat together. Even though I've been chosen as class rep, I don't know if I'm qualified for it, Izuku said. Stop talking down to yourself. You'll be fine, Salem said. You are, Yurika said. It'll be fine. Your courage and judgment at critical moments makes you worth following. That is why I voted for you, Tenya said. It was you? Izuku asked. But didn't you want to be class rep, too? Tenya Yurika asked. Wanting to do it and being suitable for it are different issues. I merely did what I judged to be correct, Tenya said. Merely? Izuku and Yurika questioned. You don't usually use that word, Izuku said. Oh, that's Tenya said. Izuku and Yurika then found out that Tenya was rich and that his family was a family of heroes. Suddenly an alarm went off. An alarm, Tenya asked. There has been a level 3 security breach. All students please evacuate outdoors promptly, I repeat, an announcement said. What's level 3 security? Tenya asked. It means someone is trespassing on school grounds. I've never seen anything like this in the 3 years I've been here. You should hurry, too, a student said. The whole student body was now trying to exit the cafeteria, pushing and shoving each other around. Tenya was able to make his way to the windows overlooking the front entrance. Who in the world trespassed? That's the press. Everyone, calm, Tenya said, but was cut off. Izuku was the pushed into the window. Ah, Izuku. It's only the press. It's just the press, Tenya said. I see. Give me your hand, Izuku said. Izuku and Tenya then reached out to each other. Izuku then changed into his Grimm form and stretched his hand out and casted a spell on Tenya. Tenya then began to float. Tenya then used his quirk to fly to the exit, spinning as he did so. Everyone, everything is fine. It is just the media. There is nothing to panic about. Everything is fine. This is UA. Let us act in a way befitting the best of the best, Tenya said. This calmed the students down and soon the hallway began to clear. Izuku then helped Tenya down. Thanks, Tenya said. You're welcome. But the way you took control of the situation. I think you will be a better class rep than me, Izuku said. Don't say that. You're the one who came up with the idea to get me up above the crowd. A leader isn't always the one to shout the loudest. You've got what it takes. Also, it would be undemocratic for you to hand over the position to me, Tenya said. Thanks, Izuku said. See. I told you that you would be fine, Salem said. The day then continued as normal, but the teachers were investigating on how the media got into the school, and if there was something more nefarious going on. The next day Class 1 were in class waiting to see what hero training they would have today. For today's hero basic training it's turned into a class with 3 instructors, All Might and me, and one more person, Aizawa said. Excuse me. What will we be doing? Zero asked. Disasters, shipwrecks, and everything in between. It's rescue training. You can decide if you want to wear your costume or not this time. Because there are probably costumes that limit your abilities, too. The training will take place off campus, so we're taking a bus. That is all. Start getting ready, Aizawa said. The students then got ready and boarded the bus. Midoriya. There's something I want to ask you, Ajue said. What is it, Ajue? Izuku asked. Call me Zu, Ajue said. Right, Izuku said, flustered. On a first name basis already, wow, Salem teased. Shut up, Izuku said in his mind. Your quirk is very interesting. You can do so much. What even is it? Ajue asked. Yeah. Yesterday you made Tenya float. It's almost like your quirk is magic, Yurika said. Well. That's because it basically is magic, Izuku said. That's so cool. It must be nice having a flashy quirk like that. My hardening's super strong and can destroy bad guys in a fight, but it doesn't look all that impressive, Kirishima said. Don't say that. You're definitely pro-hero material with a quirk like that, Izuku said. They then continued to talk about each other's quirks and who would be a popular pro-hero, and interestingly Bakugo was being criticized. Well, that's something new, Salem said. Yeah, Izuku said. We're here. Stop messing around, Aizawa said. Yes, sir, the students said. Class 1 exited the bus. Everyone, I have been waiting for you, 13 said. It's the space hero, 13. The gentlemanly hero who has rescued tons of people from disasters, Izuku said. Oh, I love 13. Eureka said. Let's go inside without delay, 13 said. The class then walked into a large building called the USJ. The Welcome to the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or USJ for short. It is a training ground that I made with different types of accidents and disasters, 13 said. 13, where's All Might? He was supposed to meet us here, Aizawa asked. About that. It looks like he did too much hero work on his way to work and ran out of time, so he's resting in the lounge, 13 whispered. Aizawa managed to overhear 13. What does 13 mean by that? All Might has a time limit for his quirk, Aizawa questioned. Interesting, Salem said. Let's see. Before we begin, let me say one thing, or two. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13 said. 13 then explained the purpose of their lesson. It was to train them in rescue work, but also to teach them that their quirks could easily cause harm if not careful. A purple mist then formed in the middle of the USJ, and a bunch of villains appeared from the mist. Cool, we even get to fight fake villains, Kirishima said. Those aren't fake villains. Gather together and don't move, this is not a training exercise anymore. 13, protect the students, Aizawa said. Seems like we have some uninvited guests, Salem said. Aizawa then prepared to fight. 13 and Eraserhead, huh? The teacher's schedule we received the other day said that All Might was also supposed to be here, Shigaraki said. The trespassing yesterday was the work of these scumbags after all, Aizawa thought. Where is he? I went through the trouble of bringing this whole crowd, too. All Might. The symbol of peace. And he's not here. I wonder if he'll come if we kill some kids, Shigaraki said. The students began to worry and panic. There's no way they could get into a hero school, Kirishima said. 13, what about the trespasser sensors, Momo asked. We have them, of course, but 13 said. Did they only appear here, or around the whole school? Either way, if the sensors are not responding, that means they have someone with a quirk that can do that. An isolated area separated from the main campus during a time when a class is supposed to be here. They might be fools, but they are not dumb. This surprise attack was carefully planned with some sort of goal in mind, Shoto said. 13, start the evacuation. Try calling the school. These villains even had something to counteract the sensors. It's possible someone with radio wave type powers is interfering. Kaminari. You try contacting the school with your quirk, too, Aizawa said. Yes sir, Kaminari said. What about you, sir? Will you fight by yourself? With that many, even if you can erase their quirks. Eraserhead's fighting style is capturing after erasing the enemy's quirk. A frontal battle is, Aizawa said. You can't be a hero with just one trick. I'm leaving it to you, 13, Aizawa said. Aizawa then jumped down the stairs towards the group of villains and started taking out the villains. Kurogiri. Separate the students, Shigaraki said. As you command, Shigaraki, Kurogiri said. Kurogiri then walked away. Impressive. I've severely misjudged him, Salem said. Mr. Aizawa was actually good at fighting by himself against a lot of people, Aizawa said. This is no time for analysis. Hurry up and take shelter, Tenya said. The students and 13 then began to head for the exit, but they were stopped by Kurogiri. Nice to meet you. We are the League of Villains. It may be presumptuous of us, but we have invited ourselves into the home of the heroes, UA High School, in order to have All Might, the symbol of peace, take his last breath. I believe All Might should have been here. Has there been some kind of change? Well, that is neither here nor there. This is the part I am to play, Kurogiri said. Aizawa then transformed into his Grimm form. 13 was about to use her quirk on Kurogiri, but Aizawa used energy magic to attack Kurogiri. Though it didn't have an effect on him. Oh dear, that's dangerous. That's right. Even if you are students, you are excellent golden eggs, Kurogiri said. Kurogiri then warped the magic back at Izuku, hitting him in the chest. Izuku fell down in pain, but it also sent his magic astray, ending up hitting the others and somehow hitting Kurogiri. Get him out of the way, 13 said. Insolent brat, Kurogiri said. Kurogiri then surrounded the students in mist and warped some of them away. Izuku found himself in the middle of the main plaza. Midoriya. What are you doing here? Aizawa said. That purple mist villain warped me here. I think he's done the same to the rest of the class, Izuku said, groaning in pain. Look alive, kid, Salem said. A villain then tried to attack Izuku. Izuku grabbed the villain and threw him into several others. Kurogiri. Why did you bring that kid here? Shigaraki asked. That kid managed to hit me, due to my hand though. And I thought having a student here would distract Eraserhead, Kurogiri said. Well, it appears that isn't the case, Shigaraki said, watching Izuku taking out several villains. Though he may be a good test for the Nomu and it would destroy All Might to have one of his precious students die, Shigaraki said, seeing Izuku's vast array of powers. I must go back, there are still students to deal with, Kurogiri said. Kurogiri walked back to the entrance and teleported the remaining students back to where they started just as they were about to leave. Aizawa and Izuku had defeated a large number of the villains in the main plaza. Shigaraki then rushed at Aizawa. Aizawa charged towards Shigaraki and elbowed him in the gut, but Shigaraki managed to grab Aizawa, and had his hand on his elbow. It's hard to see because you keep moving around, but there's an instant when your hair falls. That's when you have finished an action. And the space in between has gotten shorter and shorter. Don't push yourself, Eraserhead, Shigaraki said, as Aizawa's elbow. Izuku then attacked Shigaraki with water magic. Aizawa then moved away from Shigaraki. Nomu, Shigaraki said. Thanks, Midoriya, but you should get out of here, Aizawa said. I would. But I don't think they'll let me, Izuku said. You're right. Fine, stay by my side, Aizawa said. Right, Izuku said. Be careful now. Dying and regenerating is very painful, physically and mentally. I don't want you to go through that if possible, Salem said. I will, Izuku said. Good, Aizawa said. Other villains then attacked Aizawa and Izuku. That quirk isn't suited for fighting long fights against a large group, is it? Isn't this too different from your usual job? What you're good at is a short fight after a surprise attack, right? Even so, you jumped right in to fight us from the front. Was that to put your students at ease? Shigaraki asked. Aizawa then took out the villains that surrounded him. You're so cool. By the way, hero. I'm not the last boss, Shigaraki said. A giant creature with a bird-like face was now stood over Aizawa. But the creature just ignored him and went after Izuku. Watch out, Salem said. Midoriya, Aizawa yelled. Izuku turned to see the Nomu charging towards him. Aizawa had the Nomu wrapped up in his scarf, but it did little to stop the Nomu. The Nomu punched Izuku into the stairs. Izuku began to leak black goop from his body. The Nomu then grabbed Aizawa's scarf and pinned him down. I'll tell you, Eraserhead. He's the anti-symbol of peace, the bioengineered Nomu, Shigaraki said. The Nomu broke Aizawa's arm. You can erase quirks, that's wonderful, but it's nothing impressive. In the face of overwhelming power you might as well be quirkless, Shigaraki said. Aizawa activated his quirk, but it did little to stop the Nomu from breaking him like a twig. The Nomu then grabbed the back of his head and slammed it into the ground. Kurogiri then appeared next to Shigaraki. Shigaraki Tamura, Kurogiri said. Kurogiri, did you kill 13? And that kid you brought here was no match for Nomu, Shigaraki asked. Seems I underestimated him. I put 13 out of action, but there were students that I was unable to disperse and one of them was able to run away, Kurogiri said. Kurogiri. You. If you weren't a warp gate, I would have crushed you to pieces. We can't win against dozens of pros. It's game over. Man, it's game over this time. Let's go home. Oh, yeah. Before we leave, let's smash some more of his pride as the symbol of peace, Shigaraki said. Shigaraki turned to the forest zone where Ajue, Minter and Zero were. The three of them had been sent to the shipwreck zone. They had managed to escape and had made their way around the edge of the shipwreck zone. Shigaraki then ran towards them and placed his hand on Zu, but nothing happened. You really are cool. Eraserhead, Shigaraki said. Aizawa had managed to use his quirk to disable Shigaraki's, but then the Nomu smashed his face to the ground. Let go of her, Izuku yelled. You're alive, Shigaraki asked. Shigaraki was then hit by a Borbatusk. Several more Grimm then began to come out of black pools around Izuku. Legends. Stories scattered through time. Mankind has grown quite fond of recounting the exploits of heroes and villains, forgetting so easily that we are remnants, byproducts, of a forgotten past. Man, born from dust, was strong, wise, and resourceful, but he was born into an unforgiving world. An inevitable darkness, creatures of destruction, the creatures of Grimm, set their sights on man and all of his creations. These forces clashed, and it seemed the darkness was intent on returning man's brief existence to the void. However, even the smallest spark of hope is enough to ignite change, and in time, man's passion, resourcefulness, and ingenuity led them to the tools that would help even the odds. This power was appropriately named dust. Nature's wrath in hand, man lit their way through the darkness, and in the shadow's absence came strength, civilization, and most importantly, life. But even the most brilliant lights eventually flicker and die. And when they are gone, darkness will return. So you may prepare your guardians, build your monuments to a so-called free world, but take heed. There will be no victory in strength, Izuku said, with Salem's voice mixed in with his. End of chapter 5.